A lot of people, who have been to the Grand Canyon, the real names for all of the, if you will, pyramidal or almost structures that look like the Sphinx were Hopi terms. They were not anglicized or Egyptianized terms that the National Park Service used. Now, I mentioned earlier, this is critical, everyone. When everybody talks about the Great Smithsonian cover-up, I want to give you this. This is an exact quote. Prime Minister Nubar Pasha of Egypt was the first Prime Minister of Egypt and served his first term from January 1884 to June 1888. Prime Minister Pasha of Egypt contacted the U.S. Department of State and requested that all of the Egyptian artifacts found in the Grand Canyon be returned to Egypt. Now, here it is, Derek. Here it is, Doug and Joe. He also requested that no more information about Egyptians ever being in the Grand Canyon be published by the Smithsonian Institution. The Smithsonian archaeologists think that, and they, by the way, there's an unfinished Egyptian pyramid in the Grand Canyon. It looks like the Saqqara pyramid, or as a step pyramid, is a burial tomb because there's an entrance tunnel that is blocked a few feet inside the pyramid. But listen to this. The National Park Service will not allow the archaeologists to excavate any of the pyramids in the Grand Canyon. Now, Derek, I'm sure you get it, I get it. How does this relate to salvation? God is going to lead his people out of the area that's going to be destroyed. I don't know where that is, cities of refuge. But the Pharaoh was a type of the Antichrist that is yet to come. And interestingly enough, the final element when the children of Israel left was, obviously the idea that there is great judgment on Pharaoh, the Red Sea. Now, Derek mentioned a word, catastrophism, and I'm going to be dealing with that at Branson. What if the true biblical narrative, and by the way, the book of Job has a lot to say, as well as other Old Testament books, about God's catastrophic judgment upon a planet called Rahab. And Rahab was between the orbit of Mars and Jupiter. And due to some laws in physics, they can calculate not only the size, but again, the amount, if you will, of gravitational pull that would have been necessary along with the plasma arc. And it goes to basically this: a planet of greater mass and greater electrical charge will destroy the planet of lesser mass and lesser electrical charge. The ancients were terrified of the skies. What I've found through all the years that I've been doing this is all the observatories, every place in the world, all of the astronomers who had the ancient knowledge passed down to them, Tom Horn's trip to Mount Graham, everybody is looking for the skies. They're looking for the, if you will, the testimony of past judgment, but the future judgment coming upon the earth, whether it's Apophis or whether it's other heavenly bodies. Here's the thing, Dirk. We talk about the planets, and everybody will deal or concern themselves with, Planet X, Gabriel's fist, Lucifer's hammer, the 10th planet, all these different names, but they avoid probably the greatest fingerprint of a catastrophic judgment on Lucifer. And you go into Ezekiel, the stones of fire, Hebrew idiom for planets, the idea that each star was the abode of an angel, falling stars, or what, shooting stars. The purpose of all this stuff, of ancient history, of putting this into perspective, is to show you the deception that's coming. And by the way, when you go into the Grand Canyon, I just flew over it months ago, and hopefully if I have time, I'll be presenting that at Branson too. But you've got the names of some pretty famous landmarks. And remember, these were told to the first park rangers and the explorers. The Tower of Set, it's Setaprine, and it was named by the Hopi Indians. The Tower of Set was built in the Grand Canyon as a burial tomb for King Setaprine that came to the Grand Canyon, but King Setaprine died on a trip back to Shemau. All the Egyptian hieroglyphs said have eroded off the pyramid. The Set pyramid has rectangular shape similar to the first pyramids in Egypt. Then you've got the Hopi Indians talking about the most pyramidal structure that actually, I believe, was a sphinx before erosion and intentional destruction took place is the Tower of Ra. And what's fascinating about the Tower of Ra is that you can actually see an entrance that when you look into the entrance with a high-powered lens, a telephoto, like a Canon 300, 400, extremely high-resolution lens with the sun in the right correct position, it looks like somebody actually, Derek, went in there and blocked it up and painted it white. But you can see footpaths. And what a lot of people don't understand is, like, with aerial imagery and satellite, the ability to take, and I'm not just talking about LiDAR, I'm talking about infrared and ultraviolet. You can actually see old, if you will, footpaths, or horse paths, and this is how so many of the lost cities in Africa and other places have been found. But when you line all these things up, as so many people have done it, Graham Hancock and others, that every single one of the pyramids or the supposed natural structures line up either with Orion's belt or the Pleiades. And it's true not only in Egypt, it's true in the desert Southwest, it's true in Sardinia, it's true all over in Mexico. So by basically doing a regressive stellar projection, you can get the idea when these monuments and Cyclopean architecture, going even back further than 2000 BC, were installed. So even the story that people laugh about, that Mark Antony and Cleopatra, I'll be presenting that in pretty graphic form. I have literally interviewed, Doug, and I've said this before, guys who are on the military mission of the takeout of other giant and GIANT mummies from the Grand Canyon. And the thing is, they were there on multiple occasions, and Cliff Mahudi, who we have on the DVD, Holocaust of Giants. And by the way, let me put a pitch in for this. If you want to be brought up to speed and what's going to be happening in the future with the headlines of tomorrow,